Hi, and happy March and upcoming March the 8th. A year ago, I would have said Happy Women's History Month and upcoming International Women's Day, but apparently they are not real events anymore, while Valentine's Day still is. Jokes about Google's decision to remove them from the calendar aside, I have been participating on Dev.to's WeCoded campaign for many years now. And if you don't know what WeCoded is, it's an event at Dev.to, and it's happening in March. And as the folks at Dev.to described the event, it's a celebration of individuals who are underrepresented and otherwise marginalized in software development on the basis of gender, including women, transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and two-spirit people. And I've usually written a blog post for this event, like every year. And this year, I wanted to do a bit more. So here I am, recording a video. So yeah, my name is Evis, and in this video, I'm sharing some examples of things that I personally have faced as someone who is from a gender minority in tech during the past year, starting from last March. These examples and experiences and this video is based on the blog post I made, and you can find these examples and more from that one. And there is a link to the blog post in the video description. Let's get started with some comments I received for my last year's blog post. And these comments, unfortunately, they happen every year, but it has actually gotten worse year after year. So I'm a bit afraid of this year already, especially given what's happening in the world right now. So first, I want to share with you about this one person who first commented on my blog post about my experiences as someone from a gender minority in tech. And then when they got blocked from Dev, they reached out to me on another platform. At the end, you said you want someone as colleague who you can use as dustbin for your emotional turmoil. Now that certainly can make the workplace insufferable if that person doesn't have other motives towards you. Even you won't be willing to be like that for someone else. I suggest you better find that unfortunate one in your personal life, not at the workplace where serious business get built. So yeah, this was their first comment. And this was on the blog post. There is so much to untangle there, but the thing I'll mention is the other motives. And before getting back to that, there was the message they sent me on Polywork. So yeah, this was the comment they sent me on Polywork as a request for collaboration. Let's see what it was. Thank you for thinking my comment on Dev.to as contribution for your next piece of sweet post. Just letting you know, your kind gets sidelined everywhere because of the complaining nature. You don't take even normal talk lightly. You think everyone is trying to demean you. So you complain everywhere wrongfully. Good devs don't want to get into trouble by interacting with you, getting into false MeToo and all. That's why they turn their back in front of you, in front you. And the more you complain, the more they will continue to do so. World is not bed of roses as you might think. Everyone is struggling, not just you. So don't expect special treatment from devs, as you might be accustomed with on your Facebook, Tinder, etc. profiles. Best wishes. So yeah, this was how they reached out to me after getting blocked from Dev. And here, again, they're referring to false Me Too and expecting special treatment on Facebook or Tinder profiles. And you know, I've gotten similar messages in the past, and I'm just wondering, these people, when they are at work, are they there to do their job, or are they there looking for a partner or something? Because for some reason, they seem to assume that I am there looking for a partner, or like something like that. And if it was unclear to someone, I am not. I'm there to do my job. And yeah, then there was Blake. Blake commented on the same post, which I had cross-posted to Medium. And what Blake said, so you can't see the name here, but trust me, the name was Blake. And what Blake said, being a former employer, I never cared about person's gender, race, sexual orientation, politics, or background. I only cared about how well they did their job. Why do you have to shove your sexuality down everyone's throat? Perhaps that's the problem. Yeah. So, that blog post was still about my experiences at work, about my gender, and I never mentioned anything about my sexuality, sex, or anything like that. But for some reason, when someone talks about their gender, especially, usually if it's something else than man, all of a sudden somehow becomes related to sex or sexuality. So yeah, Blake here mentions that they've been a manager, and I really, really, really do hope that they have not been a manager who blasts these sexualizing thoughts into their people they've been managing. I mean, if just sharing your experiences that have nothing to do with sex or like sexual orientation or anything like that, if that is just sexual, well, I actually, if these people see these things as sexual, I actually would say that the problem is not me or anyone sharing these experiences, but the plagues of this world. Last example I want to share from blogging is this one blog post I wrote in the fall. I told about different ways to make forums asking about gender more inclusive. And I got this one comment there. Why the F you guys bring gender identity shit into everything? This article brings low to zero value as a Compose UI developer. I have read your other accessibility articles and even bookmarked them because they're great. But this one just sucks. There's a reason why this article has 0 claps. Please get back to accessibility stuff of Compose. Oh, how I love when I'm told to get back in line and to do things that I'm supposed to do and not talk about things that actually matter to me. So, you know what I did? I actually turned it up a notch. And I think we all should do that, especially now when the world is what it is. So, yeah, these were some examples of the comments I've received in blog posts, and they are definitely not the only ones, but some that I wanted to talk about here. But blogging is not the only place where I've encountered these fun things. The other space where I've seen these all kinds of fun things happening is, well, I speak at different events, I do public speaking. And this doesn't happen in every event, but I want to share a couple of experiences and stories from one event from last summer. I was there giving a talk about accessibility, and just a couple of minutes before my talk, this one person pretty much splained accessibility to me. And being nice and nervous and all, I couldn't say anything to that person, just smile and nod. But it was actually a really awful place to begin a talk. And public speaking is hard as it is, but having this feeling of someone having the need to explain my topic, my specialty, to me right before I'm about to step onto that stage and give a talk about it. It was really a lot. Yeah, I know. That person most likely meant well. But even well-meaning things can cause a lot of harm. But I must note that despite of the rocky start for the talk, it went well. I aced it. But after the talk, well, there was another incident. And I really love to handle my QA sessions after the talk as like a in-person one, so not being on the stage and answering there, because it lets me actually discuss with people. And this happened after that talk. This time, there was a person who decided that it's actually a good idea to answer the questions that people came and asked from me. And no, I never asked them to do that. So when somebody asked me a question after the talk, and if I took a second too long before I started answering that question, this person tried answering the question, and I usually had to correct them. Or if I was quick enough and answered the question first, they actually added something to my answer, to every single question. And that event had the most people reaching out to me after a talk, like ever. And I was so happy about it. And the questions, they were so great. I was like, I was excited in the moment. But this one person pretty much ruined it for me. In the moment, I couldn't say anything to them because, I didn't want to seem impolite or anything. Yeah. So this went on until there was no more time. We had to leave the room because there was another talk starting. And I confronted the person later. And you know what their answer was when I asked, why the heck did they do that? They said they wanted to support me because I was speaking for the first time. I've been speaking since 2020, and even if that was the first time I was speaking, that is definitely not the way to support someone who you've met for the first time and who hasn't asked for anything like that. And to be honest, I don't believe that this would have happened to a man. And hey, if you are a man who has encountered similar things and you are willing to share, I really want to hear from you. But until I do, it's really hard for me to believe that this would actually happen to someone from a majority position. These were some experiences from someone in gender minority in tech. And these things are not okay. I was talking with a therapist last year and told them about these experiences and, well, the things that I regularly see as someone from a gender minority in tech. And the therapist was horrified that someone has to actually face this constant belittling and fighting for your spot in professional circles constantly. And the therapist, they helped me to understand that this has actually become too normal for me, so that I see that it's just normal. So sort of like as a part of the package of being an outspoken person in tech. And being in a minority position, it doesn't help either, because it puts me into more vulnerable place. So I want to end this video with saying it's not okay. It's not okay. And we should never let these things to become normal in tech. Normal things happening for people in minorities, and not just gender minorities, any minority. We need to change that.